Welcome back, friends, to Divine Feminine Radio, your weekly sanctuary for feminine wisdom in a masculine world. I'm your host, Rani Kala, here today with the beautiful Tamara Rose. Tamara, it's so good to have you today. If you are new to us, Tamara is the founder of the Beyond Human Method. She's been deconstructing patriarchy and activating the divine feminine for over 15 years. She's also my sister, hence how I found her. I figured today we could dive into...
You had no choice.
I had no choice. I mean, I did have a choice when I incarnated. I said, you know what, that's the gal I want to be my sister. But, you know, in this lifetime, I did not have a choice. I thought we could dive into a bit about primary patterns today. I don't feel like we've talked enough about primary patterns and how they get in the way and how they affect our fishbowl and how
Have we talked about them at all?
I feel like we have maybe a while ago. But not as deeply as we could, especially since it's the core of what we do at the Beyond Human Method. I feel like it seems appropriate. I feel like people should really know about this and how it affects every facet of life. Once you hear about it, I promise you're going to get your mind blown. What do you think, Tamara?
You can't unhear it. Once you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, mother. That's what that is.
That's what that is. So we'll give you a little mind-blown magic today. Tamara has a mind-blown guarantee at her live events, so I'm sure it can also apply to podcast episodes.
Anytime we do events, I'm always like, you get a mind-blown guarantee. Money back if I don't blow your mind. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, a few episodes ago, we talked about our fishbowls, how our fishbowls are creating our reality, our thoughts, feelings, and actions are creating our reality. If you haven't heard that episode, I recommend going back to watch that one, or listen, if you're a listener. But underneath of how we create our fishbowl with our thoughts, feelings, and actions is our primary pattern. And really, that's at the root of how our fishbowl is created and how we see our lens through life, if you will, right?
Yes. Accurate. You should be a coach.
Oh, thanks. Maybe I should.
I have a company. You want to be a coach?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Oh, my God. Stupid jokes all day long. Be here.
It's fine. So when it comes to the primary pattern that's running the show, let's open up how we identify it, how we get to the root of it, how we change it so that we can change our reality.
Yeah. And to give some context on, let's also start with, what is a primary pattern? So the primary pattern is the one main pattern. And we take the premise that, if you uprooted this pattern, your whole life would change. That's, the premise we take. And so we're actually, I also want to say this. I am also of the mindset, the belief system, that there's nothing wrong with anybody, that basically we're all high vibrational frequency beings. We can create anything that we want. And the only thing getting in the way is ourselves. And so for the sake of this particular distinction in this podcast recording, consider that if we just strip away all the limitations, you would be left with high consciousness, high vibrational frequency, create and manifest anything that you want. So it's the patterns that get in the way. It's the belief systems. It's the mindset. It's the things that you've been taught about the 3D reality. So if we identify that one personal primary pattern that you have, then we start to unpack, and you get to get freed up to live your most expansive life, to create anything that you want, to really embody living beyond all these human limitations. And so the primary pattern is kind of that one that everything can come back to. So you can be oh, okay, it's this, but then underlying is one. There's one primary thing. And so we get that. What was your original question? Because it's I could also talk about how does it evolve? How do we have this primary pattern? That can also be the question. Was that what you were saying?
Yeah. Just in general, we started with what is a primary pattern. And I think that's a great distinction. And one metaphor I like to use when it comes to primary pattern, because a lot of people listen to us and they come to us on their personal growth journey. It's not like they're they just woke up and they're like, what do I do with personal growth? They've normally been on their journey for a while when they come work with us. So
Yeah, this is like
typically,
this is the varsity program is what I call. Like
yeah,
you've done some other stuff, you were training, and now you're like, let's hit the varsity league.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a new concept to them doing mindset work, doing healing work, things like that. But
Right.
if you've been on your journey for a while, you've probably been doing mindset work. I like to think of it like trimming the branches of a tree.
Yeah.
You're trimming the branches, you're trimming the leaves, but they've probably been growing back. You may be bumping up against some similar patterns, some similar things for a few years now, not really being able to get past it because the leaves and the branches keep growing back. And so the point of the primary pattern is instead of trimming back the leaves and the branches, you're actually going to the root of the tree and you're like uprooting it, throwing it away, setting it on fire. The tree no exists anymore. You get to plant a new one now.
And like that's the most efficient way to go about growth and development, because if you're a landscaper and you got a weedy yard and you keep like trimming the weeds are going to grow back thicker and they're going to keep coming back. But like if you uproot them, usually get rid of them unless they're dandelions. Man, those motherfuckers know how to like recreate themselves in my yard like nobody's business. And I'm so like anti-pesticide. I'm like, oh,
They're the
no.
prettiest weeds though. They're the
They
prettiest.
are, and they're like healthy and they're good for you. And I haven't gotten to the hippie phase where I'm boiling my dandelion weeds. So, listeners, if you want to give me tips, go ahead. Anyhow, I digress. Back to the weeding of the yard.
Well, when it comes to our primary pattern, I would say the source, like if we're getting into the source of like where it comes from,
Yeah.
90% of our energy comes from our mom, number one, primary caretaker or mom. Like, surprise, you incarnated and you were given this like little gift bow tied with a bow. And it's all the like, not worthy, not good enough. I'm always right. I can't do anything right. Whatever that is, like, it's just gifted to you because we spend so much time in the womb and around our primary caretaker. We learn how to survive because of them.
Yes. Yes. And I will also say this, because so we're going to get influenced by the reality we were born into. So somebody's primary pattern who's born into like a billionaire family is going to be completely different than somebody's primary pattern. Potentially could be the same, but like I haven't seen that yet. Potentially different than somebody who's born into poverty. Your patterns are going to be different if you're born into like a community in the South, like Florida or like Northern Maine. You're going to have like potentially different conversations, different influences. Your patterns may be different if you're born into like the United States versus Ghana, Africa. I just throw out things that I know. I've been there, so patterns are different.
It's going to go back to everything about gender, race, economic status. What are the other sexuality, all these different religion, thank you. All these different aspects of life are going to contribute to whatever your primary pattern is.
Yes,
geographic
100%.
location.
Geographic location too. And so those are going to influence how we see the world. Those are going to influence our fishbowl for sure. Now, the other thing that also influences our primary pattern would be your blueprints. And so the way that I like to describe this is like when you incarnate, you say, I want to experience XYZ. And I think we talked about that on the last episode about incarnating blueprints and what you want to experience. And so if you would like to be like one of my pathways on this planet is to be a thought leader, and to change how people relate to themselves, to remove human limitations so people can access that higher consciousness, can create anything that they want on the planet. Like that's why I incarnated. So, A, I've been doing this for 15 years. B, I've had some like really fucking traumatic shit happen that most people might have taken them out of the game. But for me, it was part of the pathway to show like it actually my path or what has happened to me in the human realm hasn't dictated my limitation. So it actually creates the pathway. And so like your blueprint will also dictate your primary pattern so that you can dissolve it and overcome it and like clear it and get rid of it. So you too can experience living without human limitation. So the primary pattern is like literally all these little pieces put together. So if you think about it, there's going to be like one main theme And then there's going to be all these like side parties happening with the main theme. Like, let's not be so significant about it. It could be side parties. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, chaotic side parties, but like for sure, side parties, right?
Yeah.
And so that's really to clear that out of your space completely and no longer function from the primary pattern. That's like one of our goals when we work with our people is like, get rid of that.
100%. So that's why when we work with people, that's the first thing we identify with them is what is your primary pattern, so we can go to work immediately to clear it, set a new foundation, build something new.
Exactly, exactly. And so the more work that you do on it, you'll also realize like there's a theme, you'll start identifying all of your side parties, and then eventually you'll be like, oh, this is the one root piece. This is the one, it is mine. Gosh, I have really loved up on that motherfucker. And like, and then you'll see that it's, it's doing its patterning every area of your life. So how you do one thing's how you do everything. That's like been said. So, when you find that primary pattern, you'll be like, oh, that's why I'm like this with money. And that's why I'm like this with people. And this is why my business career goes that way. And this is why, and you'll just be like, it'll all stack up for you.
Yeah. Well, let's give an example. Like, I'll share about mine if you
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's great. Oh, Ronnie's going to get vulnerable. So cute.
On my own podcast. Well,
yeah, you're like, you've been doing this. That's fine.
Yeah. Because I think being able to see how it affects every facet of life is important, not just, oh, here's my pattern and whatever. So when I first started doing this work, I would have said my primary pattern was I'm not good enough. Like that was what I could see at the time. And I will say the more that you do the work, the more that you peel back the layers of the onion, you start to see something else. You start to see what could be deeper, right? So I started working with I'm not good enough. The first way that showed up for me was with money. I felt really scarce with money. I felt like I was living paycheck to paycheck. I felt like I never had enough. And so my bank account kept showing me I'm not enough with money. I never had enough money.
Yeah.
In order to make more money, I had to work really hard for it. I had to prove myself. I had 2 jobs while I was doing college full time. I was working, like I felt like I had to work really hard in order for money to come to me. So because I was not enough inherently, I then had to work hard for the thing to come to me.
Yeah.
In relationships, I felt like I wasn't good enough. Therefore, I didn't receive all of the love that was available to me. I settled. I kept going back to one person and settling because I thought that was the best that I was going to have. I was in an on and off relationship for 7 years because I thought that was the best I was going to have and nothing else like quote unquote compared to it until I did the work on myself.
Now, here's an interesting question. Did you actively know and feel like you weren't good enough? Like, was that I'm curious for the listeners. And by the way, y'all, I would love to give you an example, but like I've been doing this for a long time. My examples, usually I can't find them. So Ronnie's being super gracious right now. So I am curious, would you have said that at the time inside of your relationships or inside of money? Or was there a different thought process? Was there a different language? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's interesting because with money, I would say it felt like scarcity, or that I felt it felt like
isn't enough. Maybe.
Yeah, there just isn't enough. There isn't enough time. There isn't enough money.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was doing work for maybe a year, and I don't even think I was in the Beyond Human Method program yet, but I was just doing other things to work on myself. And I had it may have been a conversation with you about like my partner was not good enough. And I was like, oh, well, like he had a pattern of feeling not enough and like why we may have attracted each other.
I remember that one.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I've been doing work on that. Like, I feel like that's gone. And I don't feel that way about myself anymore. And it's funny because I feel like I've had conversations with other people or with clients who have reached that point as well, where they're like, I've done the work on myself to feel good enough now. Therefore, my pattern is not, I'm not good enough
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
And I would say, if you're still noticing things in the environment showing you not enough with money, not enough with a partner, not enough with time, it's potentially probably still in your field somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a great so that's why I wanted to ask for the listeners, because if I don't know if a lot of people put sometime, like, I don't know if they're putting the pieces together, like everything in my environment is not enough. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. That person's not doing enough. Da, 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 da. Like the primary conversation that you're experiencing over and over again is not enough. And so, like, to look at it, does that mean, or do I ever consider, or is part of my pattern, like, I inherently am not enough? And like,
Hmm.
am I overcompensating by doing more work, spending more time, proving my value, working harder? Like, do it, like that then becomes the doing aspect, because inherently the pattern is, not enough.
Hmm. And you have to consider, like, the reason that awareness came to be was because I was talking about my partner had this pattern. And I was like, well, it's
Yeah.
not in me, but I'm attracting somebody that has this pattern. If
Yeah.
you're attracting people around you that have the pattern, it's probably for a reason, because like attracts like. You see what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Yep.
So
Yep.
you got to take a little deeper look there, maybe.
Yep. Yep.
So, yeah, when you're looking at primary pattern, you want to look to your environment and what's showing up to then determine what is the root cause. What is the
Like, how many layers can you peel back, which is what we do with our clients, right? Because there will be, because I think inherently too, like, for those, depending upon where you were born and, what part of what, right? But like being born in the United States, where, consumerism and capitalism is king, and where resources are scarce, like what we learn, I mean, that's what we've been taught. Resources are scarce, right? So inherently, there is not enough inside of the conversation. So that could be like a very common pattern that people are bumping up against, is not enough time, not enough money. I'm not enough, right? And so, like, if you're hearing this and you're like, oh, yeah, that is like an aspect of your primary pattern. Now, there's the personal pattern too, right? That is also limiting. But I think it's like, to be able to dance inside of both of those, right?
hmm So are you saying there's a primary pattern and then the personal primary pattern as like a difference?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's personal to you. It's personal to your blueprint. It's personal to why you incarnated. It's personal to your exact experience with your primary caretaker, your family, your school system. Like, for me, I remember one thing that really shaped me, and this was like part of the collapse of my quarter life crisis, if you will. But when I started doing personal growth and development, and I started coaching, and I was being trained as a coach, right? So I did like a year process to be trained as a coach. And I was being coached as I was coaching, not just being trained as a coach. And I had a coach who said, why are you so driven? And I was like, what? I was like, I'm not that driven. That's I'm not that driven. And I was 28 or 29 at the time. I owned 3 properties. I was top at like sales for like the Western region in my company, like a national fabricator, worldwide known fabricator. Um, and I'm like, and I had like money, and I like nothing. It was like, yeah, that's just, I'm like, but here's the deal. When you're in your fishbowl, you're like, everybody's like this.
Hmm.
And he was literally looking at me like, no, not everybody is like this. Now, I had also graduated high school early. I graduated college in 4 years, working 2 jobs, summa cum laude or some shit like that, right? I don't even remember. And like a 3.7 something to 5 GPA. Like, I was, in fact, the epitome of like driven, and nobody paid for my college and nobody helped me get on that path. And like, nobody, like, my parents did fuck all. So, like, okay. And for me, I went back and I was like, huh, why am I so driven? And literally, like, I had a pattern shape me in sixth grade. And it's so funny because I'm like, oh, Cece's in fourth grade. Like, it's like 2 years, right? I wanted to be a bartender. And I was like, I was so excited. This was way back. I mean, we have to go back to Cocktail and Tom Cruise and how fun that looked, and like flinging bottles in the nightlife. I was like, oh, that looks so fun. And my mom was like, yeah, okay. My mom didn't give a fuck about college and education. She was like, that looks great. You could make good money. Like, you know, and I like researched and I was like, tips are like 6 figures. This is going to be amazing. And so I walked into career day. Career day. Like, what's your career? Career of bartending. And, you know, I presented to the class. I was like super excited. And the teacher just said one thing. It was, well, that's fine, but that's not a real job.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go home and cry on my Wheaties. I didn't like have a fucking meltdown. I wasn't sad. But that was in sixth grade. By eighth grade, I was doing high school classes. Like, I was already getting high school credits. I was in summer school every time somebody offered a summer school, and I was getting college credits in high school. And I was like, I was on the path.
Mm-hmm.
And when my passion showed up, which was photography, so I was like, here I was in high school doing black and white film photography, and then I went to college, and it would have been my dual major. Would have. I was one class off. But my counselor goes, well, what are you gonna like? What do you want to major in? And I was like, well, I'd love to do photography, but that doesn't make any money.
Mm.
So I could have stayed. I could have stayed in college, done one more credit, and had a dual major in photography. But I was also like, well, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to
What's
do
the point if
anything
there's
with
no
that.
money?
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything with that. I need the real career. Do you see? So I think it's like peeling back the onion like that. You know, that wasn't my first personal growth and development course. That question didn't show up until later. It wasn't until I could actually like receive that information to have that aha
Mm-hmm.
moment. But that was one of those pivotal things that like, oh, okay. Now, I also
Yeah.
happen to be like an Aries rising, so we're pretty driven humans, like
Yeah.
in general.
Kind
You
of
know
in
what
your
I mean?
blueprint anyway, but
It's part of my blueprint. Okay. So, like, I think it's, you know, when you're looking, you just have to look at all of those aspects and pieces, right?
mm-hmm. And that's interesting you say it happened in
Mm-hmm.
sixth grade for you. I think it was fifth grade for me, the memory that I keep coming back to. Every
Yeah.
time I go to see something about my pattern, clear something about my pattern, it's been this memory from fifth grade where I was changing schools in fifth grade. My mom was the principal and assistant principal of my schools when I was younger. I always followed her whatever school she moved to. So I was like the
Yeah.
principal's kid, and it was like super, like I got special treatment a little bit because of that. Like the kiddos
Aw.
like were friends with me, I think maybe because I was the principal's kid. And I just felt like I felt real cool of the school because I was the principal's kid maybe. But in fifth grade, I switched schools, so I didn't follow my mom anymore. I was switched schools to the county I was zoned for. And
Mhm.
I didn't have my mom, I didn't have my friends, I didn't have anybody there that I knew, and everybody had already made their friends already because it's fifth grade and they've been theirs for 5 years already. So I think it was my first week on the playground, like after school care, and I was trying to make friends, and I feel like I was a weird kid, maybe, or I don't know. I remember specifically doing something a little weird. Like I did a funny face or I did like a weird dance, and I was trying to
Yeah.
get people to like me, to like be accepted or make people laugh. I
Mhm.
don't remember anybody laughing at me, pointing at me, making fun of me in any way. I just remember them turning around and walking away. I don't remember
Mm.
anything specifically hurtful about
Yeah.
it, But the
Yeah.
feeling I got was as if they had pointed and laughed at me and made fun of me. The feeling was there.
Right.
So, because of that feeling, I then subconsciously decided I can't be myself. I can't be authentic. I have to fit in. I'm not good enough the way that I am, and I have to do something else to fit in and be like
Yeah.
other people. That
Yeah.
was like the whole thing that I decided in that moment.
Yeah. And isn't it it's fascinating because today you have your purple hair wrap,
Yeah.
but for those of you listening, I'm talking to the sister who typically has blue hair or purple hair or like multiple piercings, right? And how many nose do you have? Two nose piercings, by
I
the
have
way?
two nose piercings. I have a
Like
septum and then I have
I'm always
my.
like I'm like I got like one seems like enough, but you're like let's pierce that motherfucker with another, you know. So it's just like it's funny that that is kind of your natural mo.
Hmm.
When did you really start to express yourself? Hair, sexuality, nose, like when did that? How many? It's just been a few. Has it just been really a few years? Really, really?
I came out as lesbian queer in 2019. I came out as non binary in 2021, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say.
Yeah.
So it's just been the last, like 2021, that's about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, I would say actually expressing myself and feeling safe to express myself has just been the last 4 years or so.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that was when you started doing work within the Beyond Human Method,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like so identifying those patterns and finding what's authentic to you and like finding your expression. Like that's really that makes me so happy. That's really what we're here for, peeps, you know? So,
Yeah.
oh, I wish yeah. I hope you guys find the videos so you can see Ronnie in the real, you know, with like purple hair, blue hair, piercings, all of the fun stuff.
I'm liking the scarves lately. I feel
I
like this feels very me for some reason. I love the anyway.
I love the new iterations I get of you. So if it's scarves, if it's hair, if it's a piercing, if it's a tattoo, I'm like all about it. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
of course
It's
my
like,
daughter also loves it. So my daughter feels like she should have piercings at 9. I don't
oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to inspire in some way. But if you've been
being a
watching
parent.
these videos for a while, I feel like every 4 weeks or so, I do something different. Like I
Yeah.
started with red hair, I went to blonde, I went to blue, now I'm with scarf. So it's like every 4 weeks you'll see me look a little bit different. You may
Yeah.
not recognize me.
The,
It's
the
fine.
TikTok vids are definitely trending with different like looks. If you scroll through Ronnie Bonnie's TikTok,
Yeah.
it's awesome. I do that sometimes. I'm like, he's so cute. Yeah,
So obsessed with me.
I am. I am. So, yeah, what else do we want to share about the primary patterns? Like,
Well,
is that,
I like that you also
yeah.
said it will come up when you are able to
Mm,
see it.
yes.
So for me, I started with not good
Yeah.
enough. And so I went
Yeah.
through some of the different areas like money, relationships, different ways I could see that showing up in my reality. I'm trying to
Yeah.
think what other like areas of life there are that it probably showed up in. I'm a little blank now. Like health and well-being or spirituality
Yeah.
or
Yeah. And just like relating with other people or providing your thoughts and ideas or standing up for something that's authentic and true to you, right? Like,
mhm.
I think all of those scenarios, it definitely shows up. But usually we can see the primary pattern real clear in the money and relationship realm. Like,
Mhm.
it can also be in business, right? So if you have that like not good enough, I think a lot of women have been trained like we're not, in a patriarchal system, we are trained and taught that we are not enough, that we are not good enough, that we need to constantly change who we are to fit in, to be accepted, to be chosen, to be picked, right, from the society. And that's lineage. That is so
Mhm.
lineage, it's ridiculous, right? It's in our cells and DNA from our mothers and our grandmothers and our great grandmothers. And so you just go like, and again, this is for United States of America citizens. Like maybe if you're in like a tribe in Africa, you don't have like the pick me scenario with fucking Cinderella complexes. That'd be rad, you know, or like Native Americans who came from like matriarchal systems may not have this shit. So yay, United States of America. Dumpster
All
fire.
right.
Take a moment for the dumpster fire. Anywho,
Yeah.
yeah. So as we unpack it, and like, you know, as our listeners are listening, one of the things that I do want to point out is like, it is only appropriate. So I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been trained highly with the best. I take my work and my craft very seriously. And a lot of time, and I may see something that somebody is not ready to process yet. I may see something that I know is there, but I'm not going to push. And we really have to respect like what the person is on the journey. So you're on this journey, you're in this space, you're in this reality to learn new things, to grow as a human, to access higher consciousness, to evolve. And I'm making all those assumptions because you're listening to this podcast.
I don't think you'd be here if none of that was true.
100%. You'd be listening to like Andrew Tate or some fucking shit like that. You'd be like, okay. Anyhow, or some, you know, I don't know, Dave Ramsey, Andrew Tate, like something else. Okay.
Thanks so much for listening. Real quick, if you've resonated with anything we've said so far or had any new insights, chances are someone in your circle needs to hear this too. Think about that gal that's ready for her next breakthrough to step more fully into her divine feminine. Your share could be the catalyst for her transformation. You got your person? You sent it to them? Okay, cool. Let's get back to the episode.
So there's two things. One is what can your consciousness, your being handle, and what can your nervous system handle? And so those are two very real concepts.
Because if your nervous system is strung out, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, in survival mode, there is nothing else to hold as far as like new awareness or seeing something new about that potentially. Would you say that's accurate?
So the nervous system, if it's always in reaction mode, it can't integrate and process something new. Even if you want to, even if you see it, you can't integrate, process, and release it. So like that's one aspect of the nervous system. The nervous system, and like the nervous system is really like this network of nerves from head to toe throughout the body. And so it's really like this system that is communicating with the energetic field and you all the time. To calm the nervous systems means that you're like 100% in control of like your whole reality. Right? And that's why we do so much nervous system work. But if you're in constant fight, fawn, or freeze in reaction mode, like in survival, that's what your nervous system is projecting in your reality. So how are you going to process? How are you going to get through? How are you going to release? How are you going to remove those like patterns that have kept you stuck? You really can't, right? So it's not appropriate to introduce something that the nervous system isn't ready for yet. So that's 100%. So that's like the first part. And then the second part is like, as we peel back the layer of onion, like for example, if we were going to look at some stats and data, you know, they say 1 in 4 women. Now, stats and data will change as we humans evolve and change. So these may be old. They could be appropriate. 1 in 4 women have been sexually assaulted. So if you're standing in a room, if I'm in a room and I'm hosting an event and I got all these people or I've got a bunch of clients on calls, 1 in 4 women. Now, 1 in 4 women would be the number that would be reported. So let's say it's 2 in 4 that haven't reported it. Okay. So 2 in 4. So we just added another 1 in 4 haven't reported it. So now we have 2 in 4, 2 out of 4 have been sexually assaulted. It's just 1 has been reported, 1 hasn't been reported. Okay. That's like pretty steep odds. Now we're talking 50%. However, when women start working with me, what we also find is as we peel back the layer of the onion, and you can handle processing yourself and processing your patterns and processing your emotion, we start to dive deep. sometimes, more often than some, women will start to experience that they have um, unprocessed memories about sexual assault, and now they come to the surface to process. So my point is that is also a pattern running in the background, right? So just because you don't remember it happening doesn't mean it's not in your field, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean it isn't affecting you, right? And so when you start to do that work and those come up to the surface, they're only going to come up to the surface when you can actually handle that kind of awareness. Like, holy fuck, I am remembering this incident. I am remembering this person. I am remembering that this happened. I'm remembering the age. I am like, and being able to hold and deal with that. We repress the memory, however the family members reacted to whatever that was, why you repressed it, what it was about, and everything else. So if we push that repressed memory to the surface too soon, that could be catastrophic for people. And
Mm-hmm.
mostly, like, what I'm also talking about is like there becomes such a um, cognitive dissonance, like what you're experiencing and seeing and like having to process with the reality that you know to be is so distinctly different. There's such a dissonance between those two that like literally it has nowhere to go or to exist. And so it can just cause like catastrophic breakdown. So
Mm-hmm.
when I say I take my work real seriously, that's what we're talking about here, kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about the unprocessed emotions or memories
Mm-hmm.
showing up, the subconscious, unprocessed, I do want to reiterate that the subconscious feelings, energy, emotions are
Uh-huh.
also contributing to your primary pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be another reason why people say, I've worked through all my not good enough. I therefore feel enough now. Why is like my reality not changing? It's because there could be subconscious, unconscious things still there.
100%, because that is how energy works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, well, I worked through all of that, and it's very cerebral.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Or our
you're like,
mindset has changed, but not other aspects.
yeah. So a lot of times what's really easy, and so our listeners, here's what's really easy. Take a tally to see where your life is in reality. So what is happening in reality? Not what do you want to happen, not what you think should be happening, but like what is happening in reality. And when you go through and you look at what is happening in reality, you're going to be able to identify either, okay, I thought I processed all that, not good enough, but like I'm not making more money. I'm not doing this. People aren't like, things don't go my way. I'm still fighting, it's like, oh, there's still something there. To just like take the case that oh, there's still something there is existing, right?
Mm-hmm. So going back to we're only able to see it when we can hold it. So I started with my primary pattern was not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
When I could see it,
Mm-hmm.
I could then go back and retrace my steps and see how it was affecting my life, like
Yeah.
retroactively.
Yeah.
As I continued to do the work on the not good enough and
By the
seeing,
way, hold up.
okay,
The listeners should know that like primary pattern of like not good enough meant this fantastically intuitive, beautiful sister I have was about to marry
yeah,
a
I was engaged.
engaged heterosis man boy, heterosis boy, very much in this patriarchy, looking to live his soft life, contribute nothing. I don't have a lot of nice things to say.
I can
Um,
tell.
and I had to be like, stop that record. We should have a chitty chat. And here's the cool part. Like I remember, I don't know how much you remember from that. I know you remember kind of, but like I remember being like, My vibrant sister was so beautifully like a flower opened up, excited about life when you were like dating women, exploring the world, doing like, and I was like, ooh, the future going down this path with this dude. Oh no. And I was like, look, I would just remember being like, look, we gotta talk. This ain't gonna be a conversation that anybody wants to have. I might be the villain in some storyline at some point, but like, dun, 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 let's have an uncomfortable conversation. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's the not good enough is also the settle, right? It's like if you
Yeah.
feel like you're settling or you have to settle or somebody's talking about settle or there's like quote unquote compromise, it's like that's also part of it too, you know?
And here's the thing, I wouldn't have related to it as settling at the time,
Nope.
but on the day that I got proposed to, I cried. I did not like the proposal at all.
Do you have to say this? You can't say I cried. You have to say I cried, and those were not happy tears, bitches.
Yes, let me clarify. They were not happy tears. I was
like
I
cried
was
like
highly
happy?
upset. I was highly upset. And without going into too much detail and like going on a tangent.
We don't need
like
to talk about the proposal the whole time, but like
no. But I cried because I was upset about the proposal. It didn't work.
Mhm.
Like, it wasn't the proposal I wanted. I thought I was upset because it wasn't the proposal I wanted.
Yeah.
So I had him do it again in a way that I wanted. And I thought that was like, okay,
That'll fix it. Yeah.
now that'll fix it. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah.
I picked out the ring and I didn't like it. And
That's wild.
like we redid the whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And so I went on not a spree, but like a exploration. I was like, let's find another ring because I don't like this ring.
yeah.
So I kept finding things that were, I don't want to say wrong, but like things that were amiss
Yeah.
and that I didn't like leading up to being engaged, right?
Yeah.
After the engagement. And so it's interesting looking back on it, being in it, I couldn't identify that or put two and two together, but now looking back on it, I could see that's how the intuition was talking, that's how the pattern was showing up, right?
Yeah. So when things feel off,
Maybe there's a reason.
it's usually off.
Yeah. Anyway, so this primary pattern of not good enough and being able to do work on it over the last few years, I have since recognized a pattern even underneath of that. And I think it's only been to the surface in the last year or so, maybe like last year I realized it. So underneath of not enough was actually something else that was self-hate. And it showed up because when all these things were happening in my life, I wasn't just feeling not enough about it. I was making myself wrong. I was guilting myself, shaming myself, like hating myself so profoundly.
Yeah.
So that it was even deeper than just not feeling enough about something.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it's, you know, it's so funny. Here's what I want to say. Like when you're in a personal growth journey, because I've been there. I'm still growing, still doing it, y'all. Ronnie's the only one that gets privy to like what I'm growing in and what I'm changing in, and you know, if I have like a fucking life, I'm like, man, I had a crash out over the weekend.
Yeah.
But I remember when I did my first growth course. So look, there's the not good enough. And maybe inside of me, I felt not good enough, but like maybe I switched that into like something else. But when I was on my journey, it was as soon as I did my my first personal growth course, I was like, oh, of course this makes so much sense. of course, I mean, first of all, I wanted to share it with everybody and I wanted to be a coach. But I was still like peeling back the layers of the onion. But there was also something about me where I was like, oh, I got a distinction. And then I would like tell everybody all their shit. I was in the, let me coach you even when you didn't ask, and let me show you
Oh,
what
yeah.
your shit is, and let me show you how I already know all this shit, right? But it was like, I know this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody could teach me something. I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. I know that. And then I inherently became some sort of like expert
Yeah.
immediately because I know all of it. And so I think it's like the, it's twofold. It's like, okay, well, there's a pattern. I got it, right? But I think one of the things that takes people to the next level, so if you're listening to this and you're like, oh yeah, that sounds like it, is still being in a beginner's mindset all the time. And Ronnie and I talk about that a lot, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
has fueled me to get to the level that I'm at is I still have a beginner's mindset. I'm still looking at myself. I'm still unpacking. I like live, eat, and breathe alignment. So if something's showing up in my reality, I'm like, what is that about me and how do I change it? Not that somebody else is doing something wrong, right? So I just want to say that because like if you have like, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't really have not enough, could be on
Mm-hmm.
the other side of the spectrum and be like, I'm fucking perfect. Now I think I will be the first to tell you I think I'm fucking perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I've been doing my work for 15 years, and I want everybody to think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that doesn't mean that I'm still not tweaking, I'm still not finding, I'm still not working, I'm still not like unpacking shit. And I'm still not like in awe, like, oh, that one's still there. What the fuck is that about? Why is this here? You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
just for people, like, you could go on the other side of the spectrum and like either one can limit you is the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like I've worked on, I'm good enough, and now I think I'm perfect. I find perfection in everything. It's a different concept of perfection where I'm like, I had a crash out over the weekend. If you think perfection means no crash out, my idea of perfection includes crash outs. My idea of perfection is really like screwing the pooch on some shit or like fucking up
Mm-hmm.
some shit and like realigning. So my idea of perfection is like that. It's not I'm perfect in the sense of like what patriarchy would call it. Like I've hit some level for like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, just to give another perspective is my point.
Yeah, and that's a great point because not everybody relates to not good enough. And there are other patterns out there that don't have to do with enough, not enough perfectionism.
Mm-hmm,
I think
mm-hmm.
there was one one example you had about people that flip off drivers in traffic.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? Can you
Yeah,
share
because
that one?
it was like
That
three
was profound.
people in one day talking about like flipping off. It was dudes too, which is
Uh-huh.
fascinating. Um, and this is an interesting pattern, right? Because I don't. So somebody had asked me, well, like, what does that mean, right? And I had like a couple examples that I was like tuning into the energy about, and I'm like, well, first of all, what is the point? You flip off a driver, you get pissed, now you're gonna tailgate them.
First off, how many listeners have flipped off somebody else when they were driving? Let's take an account.
I mean, I've done
Me
it once
also.
or twice in my whole life. Okay. I'm not
Hmm.
like perfect, but I have been like, what in the hell? And it's,
Someone's doing it while they're listening to this podcast.
yeah,
It's
right.
fine.
They're driving and they're like, let me flip that person off just cause I can say I just did it. Okay.
Hmm.
And then message us and let us know.
Yep.
So yeah, this person was like, and his wife was actually, I think, talking about it with me. And he was like, well, I was like, that's a wild concept. Like, he's like, well, what would you do? And I was like, I would let the person do whatever the person's going to do because I don't think that fucking matters in my reality. Like
Uh-huh.
they cut you off or they're driving slow in the left lane. And it's like, if I get mad, and this is a very higher perspective, but like if I get mad at that person, that's actually not going to change their behavior there's two cars in between us, my car, their car. They fucking are not listening to anything I have to say, nor are they interested in my reality and me teaching them anything about life. Like, they don't know I'm a coach. They didn't hire me. They have not paid me $1 for my fucking expertise.
Mm-hmm.
So, am I really going to activate being mad, upset, pissed off, or ticked off in my reality and live in that energy for even a moment because they did something I didn't like? Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
wild concept when you really like break it down. And I'm like, I just like looked at him and I was like, I wouldn't spend any time on that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, they need to understand. And I was like, huh, so you want to teach that person a lesson?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, yeah. And I was like, they're not interested. They're not listening. They can't even fucking hear you. What do you think you yelling and flipping them off is actually about? Now, mind you, this person's also a teacher. So the primary pattern is teaching other people. And what I know about teachers is like bestowing knowledge. My ex-husband would be a great teacher because he likes to bestow his knowledge on people.
He was a sub teacher for a little bit too.
He was training himself, I think, but then like, you know, didn't
Mm-hmm.
complete that. So you just go like that is a, so it's a why. So your primary pattern will show up in the professions you choose, how you react in a car, right? And I was just like, okay, I have like no skin in that game. I know for reals, like me getting upset at a driver is only going to make me upset. But you're going to be upset because somebody's not learning something from you.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that is just a self-fulfilling suffering of a prophecy. So when you could just be like, driving, oh, look, somebody cut me off. They must be in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to get there when I get there. Am I going to be a minute late because of that driver? Maybe. Who the fuck really cares?
Yep.
Like, what am I really going to like stake my claim in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can be really eye-opening when you start like to release those patterns. Now look, you're also talking to the person. I'll tell one on myself. Okay. When I learned the concept of integrity, which was doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it,
Mm-hmm.
when I learned that concept, there's a second part, which is keep and impairing context. And this was all from landmark education way back when, but doing what you say you're going to do, and somebody would show up late,
Mm-hmm.
even like 2 minutes late, 5 minutes late. Oh man, I'd rail on them. I was like, well, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. You should like
Uh-huh.
make a new agreement. You should like clean it up, right? And I was like that like righteous person about it.
Uh-huh.
Now, in the realm of an energy and energetics and intuition and like what I know now, I'm like, and this is why I've done the 53 courses, was because if I would have stopped at the first like 10, I would be a totally different coach than like I totally would, right? But
Yeah.
now I'm like, well, like we changed Cece's flights because intuition. I was like, well, that's where the
Mm-hmm.
energy is pulling. We just need to shift it, you know? And like if
Mm-hmm.
somebody reschedules a call with me, usually it's perfectly divine, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so, and I have people who schedule calls and then they have to reschedule and they're like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so, I'm like, it always works out. It's
Mm-hmm.
all perfect, you know, and that's a type of surrender and peace and ease that I think most people don't find in this patriarchal, like make wrong framework. So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah.
So, in that example of the person flipping off the driver, what was the primary pattern you said that they had? Teaching others a
Um,
lesson, needing to teach others a lesson?
yes. Yeah. Their whole life is about teaching others
Mm-hmm.
a lesson,
Even when they don't want it.
even when they don't want it. And
Mm-hmm.
this person married with kids, always teaching somebody a lesson. And how does it show up? I might be talking and will correct me before I even finish a sentence.
Mm.
And so that person's not hearing everything. That person's
Mm-hmm.
not open to everything yet. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that's like because the primary focus of life is teaching other people's lesson,
Mm-hmm.
knowing better. I know better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm teaching you a lesson. And what this person may come to find out at some point, and what the listeners may find out, because the listener may be like, well, they're so arrogant. They think they're so good. Not always.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that's a cover up for
something else.
Yeah, for inadequacy, not feeling like they're enough, right?
Yeah. And
but
that's
it's coming out differently.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, because what I have seen in some sibling dynamics, for example, is
it ours? Are we going to talk about us?
No, not ours. But because we have different moms, I feel like for siblings with the same mom, this is what I've seen.
Yes.
For siblings with the same mom, because 90% of your energy comes from your mom, I've seen one sibling feel not good enough, and one sibling have an inflated ego. So it's both sides of the same coin, like front of the hand, back of the hand, same energy, just showing up in different ways.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like, there's how you process the energy, or how you then react to the energy to survive, is like your part of your energetic makeup, your energetic signature. And so you can't say like that. That's why you could never say like, well, what would you do if you were that person? Like if we were going to be like, well, what would you do if you're Trump? And you're like, oh, well, I would do this. And like, actually, no, if you were Trump, you would do the same fucking shit Trump does every fucking day, because you would have the same life experiences, the same blueprints, the same like energetic makeup, the same perspective, the same inadequacies, the same not enough. I mean, this dude is like, he's just all around not enough inadequacy, trying to prove his value and worth in reality. And so you're just like, you would be doing the same thing he would be doing. So like that argument never really holds water around me, really. So it is like, yeah, you know, your brother and sister, your siblings, they would incarnate for different reasons. They would choose the mother for different reasons. They would choose the siblings for different reasons. They're going to be on a different life path. And because of that life path, same instance could drop in, and they're going to process that information completely differently based off of what they're here to experience, overcome, and create newly.
100%. Well, if you are interested in uncovering your primary pattern, furthering this conversation, finding out for yourself what pattern is running your life, I am opening up something special. Because I've started this conversation on TikTok. It's awesome to see how people are interested in doing this work, and I want to be able to support our community in doing this work. So for a limited time, I'm opening up 30-minute calls with me, private one-on-one, to discover your primary pattern and what pattern is running your life and how it's running your life, so that we can maybe do something about it. If you want to open up about our programs and pathways and how it can support you with that primary pattern, I'm happy to do that. If that's not a match for you, that's okay too. But this call is really about supporting you, finding your primary pattern and how to shift that for yourself. So the world needs more consciousness right now. The world needs more change right now. That's really what this is all about.
I mean, so. we're all up for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is the patriarchy crumbling? Because it's time to change. Why, the divine feminine is activating. We're seeing it in real time. We're like on the precipice, right? And so I'm a big advocate for Ronnie, like opening up their calendar, like, fuck yeah. And y'all, don't start. This is a huge gift. Ronnie is extremely talented in coaching and seeing things. And so like, this is an extreme gift to be able to like spend 30 minutes on a call with Ronnie to even just unpack or discover, like see what's there and see what's possible. Like, that's amazing. Good on you, sister.
Thanks. Man, I should be a coach or something.
You should be a coach. I have a company. Do you want to come work for me?
Yeah. Wow. What an opportunity.
You're such smart ass.
I know. Anywho, Tamara, is there anything else you'd like to give our listeners before we close out the call today?
Could we give a meditation again?
Why not? We
Oh
do it
my
at the end of
God.
every podcast.
At the end of every podcast, when I get asked what makes a difference, I'm always going to say meditation. Why? Because it fucking does.
Hmm.
So we'll link up the free meditation series. So if you're a beginner, you can access that. It really is my gift to the world. It's so funny. That was the second iteration that I had done a 20 to 20 meditation series. Like, I think it's so effective. I think that was such a good download I got way back when to do that, but starting at
Hmm.
5 minutes a day, increasing 1 minute every day, you get like tons of different kinds of meditation as well, where you get to really experience it. And it's always mind blowing I just got a note from somebody who was like, that chanting with Ganesha was amazing. And I was like, that person liked Ganesha? Like, you're like, a heterosis man was like, thank you for bringing some Hindu chanting into my life. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's not what I was fucking thinking was going to
It's
happen
always
today.
it's always the person you least expect. And it's just to
Always.
try new things. Just to try new things.
Always, always. So there's so many yummy different iterations of different kinds of meditation, and the whole goal is to get to that 20-minute sweet spot, and also to help with the illumination and eradication of your patterns, because meditation actually is hand in hand with that. So we don't do any
Hmm.
programs about people diving in and finding their own meditation practice. So if you're just starting out and or you're like, I'm a little scared, take a baby step, do 5 minutes. I got a thing for you.
Yeah. Amazing. I'll put that in the description as well. I'll put the link to book your call with me in the description as well. We will close out the episode for today with that. If you have any other questions about primary patterns, feel free to message us, comment, or email us, Ronnie at thebeyondhumanmethod.com. We're happy to answer more questions about this on next week's episode.
Yeah.
And
Even if it's not about primary pattern.
even if it's not about primary patterns,
Yeah.
we'll happily answer your questions.
Yeah.
We'll close out the episode for today. Thanks for being on with us. Keep making magic, y'all.